Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver.
We're going to talk today about Glenveagh Castle, which is also known as Glen of the Birches. So Glenveagh Castle is Letterkenny, Donegal, and it was owned built by John Adair, and John Adair was a land speculator, property speculator, and he bought it in the 1800s, late 1800s. So you can go from there.
Yes, well, this man, Adair, Jack Adair, I think he was known as. He was christened John something or another, and Adair, his father, was they were from the ruling class at the time. His relatives come here and got land when we were overrun by the invader. And all these ones got land which was taken off the people that owned the land. They were introduced their own laws, our laws, which protected all these things, and we had great laws. Suddenly they didn't count, so this was the laws of the invader, Britain. And so Adair come from that kind of a background, and he joined the British Foreign Service because he could take any job he liked. They were in this privileged position, and he was posted abroad to Florence, which is a very Catholic and Christian city. He didn't seem to absorb that. He was quite the reverse of that, and made his money speculating in the United States. Married at 46, he was 46 years of age, married a widow, a United States widow that he met at a ball, and married her. She was 32, and they come to Donegal. Now, what took him to Donegal is a mystery to me, because he was from Laois, which was known at that time as Queen's County, and Offaly was King's County. Did you ever hear the like? And so he went there and then started buying land and wound up with 28,000 acres. And so eventually he built a castle there, and called Glen Bay.
Glen Bay, yeah.
Glen Bay, or Glenveagh. And of course he's notorious for evictions that they unleashed on people that had their land. He wanted to have sheep, and he became a justice at the peace, which shows you the abysmal law or lack of law that was imposed in this country by the invader, to allow people of that calibre to do what they did, and to evict people, and had the support of the state. I think he had a couple of hundred police and people then, what they call wreckers or something, that knocked down the poor houses that these people lived in, and there was nearly 2,000 of them, women and children, evicted, and half them wound up in poor houses, or whatever they call them, workhouses, and they were a den of iniquity. They wouldn't have lasted too long there. And then some of them with a good, generous Donegal man in Australia paid for a lot of them to come out and provided them with land and all the rest of it. So he was a good man, a Catholic. So this was the result of this man. And now that same castle, that Glenveagh Castle, had that notorious owner. His wife lived for a good few years afterwards, after he died. He died in America, and it was brought back here and buried somewhere in what I suppose Queen's County, as it was called at the time, Laois. And his widow lived there and erected a statue to him in honour of him, and I think built a church or something, and something else to do with him. So, but she was well liked by the locals because she wasn't as cruel as he was. In any event, the statue that she put up and the estate for him, a lightning struck it and it disappeared.
Fell into the lake.
Aye, into the lake, and nobody bothered recovering it. It probably disintegrated, hopefully. And then it had a couple of other owners, this Glenveagh Castle.
But if we go back to John Adair for a second, John.
Yes.
To evict 244 people out of their tiny little cottages. I mean, the cottages are really, really small, you know. And 159 of them were children, right? And only for a man called Michael...
Was there 1,500?
No, 244 people were evicted. It was called the Derryveagh Evictions.
Aye, but there was running to a couple of thousand, wasn't it?
No, apparently not. I don't think so. And there was 159 of them children. And so half of them ended up in the workhouses and half of them ended up in Australia because there was a Michael O'Grady who was a millionaire. He paid for land. He felt sorry for them. And he paid for land in Australia and he paid for the flights. And they started a new life.
No, it would have been the boat. They would have been gone by the boat.
Was it the boat? So sorry, actually, I forgot. Oh, Jesus, John Malone, you're sharp. Huh? But anyway...
And it would have been a tough old passage. It would have been locked for a long time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my wife's sisters went to the United States when they were 16, and they went by from Cove on the boat. Took, I think, a couple of weeks or something to go.
Wow. So then, anyway, so after Adair died and the wife died, and then it was taken over by the Free State Army. You had the pro and anti-treaty forces for 8 years living in it at different times. And then it was vacant for a while. And then in 1929, Kingsley Porter, who was...
in 1929, yeah.
That would have been the Great Depression.
Oh, that's right.
He came from America with his wife. And Kingsley Porter was a gay man. And he bought the castle. And he also bought a house in Inishboffin.
The island off the coast of Donegal.
And then in 1933, apparently, he had a fight. His wife accepted that he was gay, right? And she accepted that he was having a gay affair with a man. But that man apparently had an argument with him 11 days before he died. Before he went missing.
He went over to Inishboffin.
He went over to Inishboffin. Apparently, I was never seen again after that. 11 days after that argument that he had, right, with his lover.
There you are, you see. So the poor man was probably fell off the cliff. We don't know whether maybe he committed suicide or whatever it was, but disappeared in any event and died of, I think, misadventure was the usual thing when a body is not found.
That's right. And then his wife spent the money they had on research into homosexuality because she felt aggrieved that she married a gay man and she had to put up with him having affairs with men. So
I think one married a good few years before he admitted to that.
That's right, yeah.
I think, wasn't he an art connoisseur?
He was an art. I think he was like the next owner, McIlhenny. He was an art connoisseur, but I think he could have been into fine arts as well, that kind of stuff, you know, a trader, whatever. And then McIlhenny, who was a student of Kingsley Porter, McIlhenny bought it, and because McIlhenny was a millionaire, because his grandfather, John McIlhenny, invented the gas meter.
And he was from Donegal, Milford.
And he was from Donegal, okay?
Great man. An engineer, I believe.
He was a great man, and he invented the public school system over there in, I can't remember, was it Philadelphia or somewhere?
Or was it Colorado? No?
I can't remember. 2 seconds.
Yeah, he did.
So he, let me see. Anyway, he invented the public school system, and he was quite a philanthropist. But McIlhenny anyway bought it. And McIlhenny lived in it for a time.
Was it McIlhenny, the fella that bought it? Didn't this man from Donegal, the grandfather of that chap, didn't he have an art museum in Philadelphia? And wasn't this fella that bought this McIlhenny grandson? Wasn't he the curator at that?
That's right. Yes.
Aye, and he bought this. He had all this money. You see, the funny thing is that they all had plenty of money, but their lifestyle.
They all had plenty of money, but they were miserable.
Yes, and
so wait till you hear. One of the women, okay, I was told this story 20 years ago. One of the women that was evicted, she had 7 or 8 children. She came up to the castle when it was being built. And she said to Mr. Adair, I put a curse on you that you and your wife will never have children. You see? So, of course, she said there will never be a child born to the castle. So this would have been in the early 1900s.
Or maybe the late 1800s.
Yeah, maybe then, yeah. And anyway, so Kingsley Porter, Adair and his wife couldn't have children. Kingsley Porter didn't have children. He was having a gay relationship, as we say, and he'd no interest probably in having children, or he couldn't have children, whatever, okay? McIlhenny was also gay, the next owner, okay? And so he didn't have children. And then it was handed over to the state. So in a sense, the curse came true. There was no child born to the castle. Okay?
It did. But all these people had money. Money corrupts, doesn't it?
It does.
Too much. And one hopes that money should not be used in that manner because your home in this world is only temporary. Your permanent home is either in heaven or hell. The journey that you go on will be either one or the other. So these people had all this big long avenue in and this marvellous scenery around them, but people of that calibre, I don't think they appreciate those type of things.
Don't know. I mean, Mr. McIlhenny was asked, what do you do for a living? And he said, I just enjoy spending other people's money. So he used to go around the world collecting tea sets for 50,000 euros. And he used to go around collecting art paintings for a couple of 100,000. And he was very much into his deer. There's a pile of deer in Glenveagh. But the thing was that he used to entertain Hollywood stars, okay, in there. One person he used to entertain was Andy Warhol. So Andy complained that the lake was too cold because Andy was used to American swimming pools and the whole lot, okay, a good lifestyle. So McIlhenny said, look, I'll put pipes in the bottom of the lake for you and we'll try it out and see if we can central heat the lake. So apparently they done that project and it didn't work, right? And then he built a pool, a central heated pool, which is there today at the side of the castle for Andy Warhol.
And is it heated?
It's heated.
It's still heated.
It's still heated as far as I know. But now,
God.
I have to say, when I was there, it could do with a bit of work. I was there last week or whatever.
There you are, you see. So they've
inherited
inherited the estate. And what's the acreage now of it?
The acreage now is 40,000 acres.
40,000 acres, that's a lot of land for the state to have. What are they doing with all that land? Sheep, is it?
They're doing nothing with it, but they could build a nice... they could put a few nice little cottages into it.
Well, maybe I think that's what they should do, because don't forget, they should undo the harm where all those people was evicted. I mean, there must be descendants of those people still knocking about Donegal, because Donegal is a county that I'm very fond of down the years, and I found it a great place for the businesses that one business was in. And the funny thing is that I've often noticed the houses are set here, there. They're not in except maybe in towns. They're in here and there and here. They're kind of dotted around the place here and there. And I think that place with 40,000 acres, I think aside from kind of gawking at pictures or whatever that people gawk at or look at, I say gawk, probably people doesn't understand that expression. I think life in the form of people being able to live in affordable accommodation or apartments or houses, wouldn't it be a grand place and bring a bit of life into the place and bring joie de vivre, joy,
yeah,
and a place for children to grow up in peace and security and serenity.
Well, you know, when you're driving up Glenveagh, it takes when you go in the front gates, it takes 6 minutes in a bus to get to the house, like the castle.
You see, there you are.
It's quite quite an extensive driveway.
Correct.
But the thing is, when you're going there, if you look to the right, you'll see up on the mountain that there's an area that's fenced off and there's tall trees. So they were fenced off in the 1970s. And the reason they fenced them off was they wanted to see the value of the sheep, or not the sheep, the deer, because the deer keep the vegetation down. So if they didn't fence that off, and if there was no deer there, the entire place would be overgrown with trees, bushes, and forest.
Oh, right.
So the deer, their function really is to keep everything tidy.
Now, I didn't notice it up there when I was there years ago, myself and my late wife. The thing is, have they got arable land there?
I don't
When
know.
I say
It's a very rocky. It's very. It's okay for sheep and deer, that kind of thing. I don't think you put a cow there.
Yeah, right. Well, it's just a kind of. It's just a. I think in order for a place not to be just like reminiscent of what it was, a kind of a weird, isolated place in some ways. Now that it's owned by the state, people can visit it and they're not inhibited or prevented with the gates locked by way of the previous owners that didn't want probably ordinary visitors, only whatever else that they wanted to use or abuse, as the case might be. So I think ordinary people from Donegal should be facilitated for houses to be built and facilities by way of a shop and that kind of thing, stocking the sort of goods that they might need, could be a very useful thing and a great source of for visitors that come from perhaps around the world to see the like of this. It brings a bit of life to the place. To me, it's just like a mausoleum.
It's one thing that's lovely about it is that it's beautiful gardens, okay? And I had a funny incident. There's a thing called the 67 steps. So the 67 steps up to an area where you can look down over the castle, okay? And so there was this mother and she had a child, she had 2 children, and the kids were just about to go up the steps, and the little kid says, I don't want to go up the steps, okay, because there's too many of them. It's massive, the 67 steps, you see? So I said to the little kid, did you know what's at the top of the 67 steps? And she looks up with her little eyes and she says, what's up there? And I said, there's a pot of gold, okay? And her eyes lit up and she shouted to her little brother, there's a pot of gold at the top of the steps, okay? And the 2 of them ran up the steps. I got out of sight and I was thinking, Jesus, I wouldn't like to be Mammy when Mammy gets to the top of the steps.
I think it's very good. Well, you see, there you are. That's a gift that you experienced there, because kids, this is what they need, a little bit of that type of encouragement. And unfortunately, sometimes it's lacking. But that is the way to sort of bring them on and sort of
Thank you.